What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Hope you're all having a great week so far. It's currently Saturday afternoon. It is 3:45. Today's video is going to be a Q&A. I had you guys ask me a bunch of questions on my Instagram about a week ago, and I got quite a bit of questions. I grabbed 9 of the best questions. A lot of them were repeats, so I made sure to obviously answer the repeat questions, and then I also wanted to make sure any of the questions that I answered today I haven't answered before. If I do, I will refer back to the video that I'm talking about. So generally real estate questions on here. We're just going to knock them out. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and be sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well. Everything's in the link below. And if you guys are looking for investment properties here in the Arizona area, I'm a licensed real estate agent. I would love to work with you guys. Question number 1. Do you put more than one name in your loans for your flips? So I've mentioned this before, but all of the properties that my business partner and I, Ricky, flip are bought cash. We actually don't have any loans on the properties that we are holding right now, which is 7 properties. We have an LLC between both of us where we put all of the properties. The actual ownership of the property goes under our LLC, which we have split ownership of. So if you're asking like that sort of question, like who's on the deed, who's on the county records, it's our LLC that we both have access to, that we're both partners on. Question number 2, is it better to have rental properties or Airbnbs? This is a question that I've wanted to touch on for a while now. It really depends on, it's a situational basis. For me personally, I always think it's a safer bet to have long-term rental properties. It's more consistent. There's less rules. Like with Airbnbs or short-term rentals, you don't know what city is going to crack down next, what regulations they're going to put on Airbnbs. Like Palm Springs, I know a while ago they cracked down pretty big, and one of my clients actually had to sell his property, was forced to sell his property because he could no longer short-term rental it, and he was actually negative cash flow on it. So for that reason, I would say it's always safer to get long-term rentals. But in a market like this where purchase price is still relatively high and interest rates are high as well, it's really hard to find a cash flowing property here in the Arizona area, renting it long term, just because of the rental rates are not above what interest rates are and what purchase prices are, at least right now. Once the market starts to settle down a little bit, once interest rates, they're going to still go up, but once prices drop down even more, you may still be able to find some cash flowing deals. But unless you're putting a solid chunk down right now, it's going to be really hard to find a cash flowing long-term rental in the Arizona area. Now, if you go somewhere to the Midwest, which is known for more cash flowing properties, you can still probably find some good deals out there cash flow wise. Now, if you already had a bunch of long-term rentals, the thing with long-term rentals is it's a slow way to wealth. I have 4 long-term rental properties right now, 1 Airbnb, and then I have 1 personal property. Those 4 long-term rentals, they're like a slow drip, like cash flow, $200 a month. Yes, when I pay those off in the next 30 years, when I'm 50 years old, yeah, that's all going to be extremely nice. But if you're looking for more of an immediate return and to generate wealth a little bit faster, Airbnb or short-term rentals will likely be the best possible approach. But like I said, be careful, be cautious with it. I would love to add a couple more Airbnbs to my portfolio, but I would be hesitant to have an entire real estate portfolio consisting of short-term rentals, just because I do like long-term rentals to fall back on if something does change. I am looking for my next Airbnb. I'm not looking for a long-term rental right now. Once I said it's an opportunity cost thing. Like, do I want to tie up $100,000 for a slow drip, couple $100 a month that's going to be steady and consistent for the next 30 years? Or do I want to try to capitalize on an Airbnb, which can generate me a lot more revenue at a little bit of a higher risk? How did you get started in property flipping? Long story short, I bought my first rental property. The real estate agent that represented me on my first rental property, he actually flips houses. He still does full time, and he's actually my mentor and my team lead on my real estate team. So he mentored me on our first flip, and we actually didn't find our first flip through him. We found it through a wholesaler, and he basically was like, I will give you guys all my contractors, all my experience. I will help you guys through every step of the way if you guys give me the listing on this property. And we're like, sure, sounds good. So he listed a property, he made 3% on us, and he helped us through the entire process, which was well worth it. That's what a mentor is for. They're here to help you, but it obviously comes at a price a lot of the time. Do you have days off? So this is a question I wanted to add in. It's weird. I tend to work 7 days a week, But with my schedule and with my lifestyle, those 7 days a week are not like 8, 10 hours a day. Sometimes they'll be 12-hour days. Sometimes I'll work 2, 3 hours. That's really light work. That's brainless work. Sometimes I'll just take a complete day off. But yeah, most of the time I prefer to do certain things on the weekends. Like I love filming on the weekends out here. So I will spend 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday, usually working. I came from an open house earlier today where I spent 2 hours there doing that. So generally on the weekends, I do like to work through them. It's more of a relaxed state though. I'm not doing any deep work on the weekends. And then on the weekdays, like I'm not doing a 9 to 5. Sometimes I'll take half a day off and just go do whatever on a Wednesday or a Tuesday. At the beginning of the year, I was definitely putting in 12-hour days, almost 7 days a week. But now that things have slowed down a little bit, it's like almost the opposite. Like I don't think I'm doing more than 40 hours a week of work right now. And a lot of it's really just kind of mental thinking of how I'm going to adapt to the market. What am I going to do next? What's the game plan and stuff like that. So it's definitely a transitional period. And I do take days off. Sometimes I'll take half days off. It's just a weird schedule with how I'm self-employed. You have seemed to met your goal of flipping 22 houses this year. Any plans for a Lamborghini? So I think I mentioned I was planning on getting a Lamborghini if I hit my goals of a certain threshold on my profits for real estate, and we had an incredible first 6 months this year. We had a total of, I believe, over $650,000 of straight profits, pre-tax, and then all of a sudden June just came to a complete halt where we haven't sold a house in the last 3 months. So yes, we hit our goal, but the overall it's not as steady as what I wanted either. Like we hit the ground running the first 6 months, but now it's not steady at all. So I'm not going to get a car until things become steadier. But yes, we did hit our goal of, I think we have 21 properties right now. We have 21 properties that we've owned, but we still have, I think, 6 or 7 that we have to sell in order to get to that 21 sold. So at the end of the year, I believe we'll have all those sold. But no plans for a car right now. I'm fine with my Tesla. But I do want to get a Lamborghini soon. What are your thoughts on current and future market conditions? So this is a great question. I don't think the market's going to get any better. I think it's going to get worse into 2023. And a lot of the properties right now, they just don't make sense from an investment standpoint. And the only people that are really buying are people that absolutely need to buy, or they're able to buy cash where a higher interest rate doesn't really affect them. Generally what happens as interest rates rise, real estate prices drop to make up for the monthly expenses for a higher interest rate. But the thing is if you're a cash buyer and prices just continue to drop, the rise in interest rates doesn't matter whatsoever. So it's going to be a good opportunity for cash buyers to get some smoking deals over the next 6 to 8 months. I'd say if you're not in an absolute rush to buy a property, I would wait. And I would definitely say if you don't need to sell a property, just wait. It's just not really a good time either way. And if we can find a balance in that where there's a balance in supply and demand, I think it'll even out a lot faster. But people are starting to panic sell right now and they're listing their property. And I always if any of my clients are wanting to sell their property, I actually messaged someone on Instagram today. They're like, hey, I want this amount for my property. I was like, to be honest with you, try to rent it out. If you don't need to, he's like, yeah, if I don't sell it by December, I'm going to rent out the property until I feel like I can sell it at like a decent price. I'm like, yes, don't settle for a price just because you want to get rid of it. If you have the monetary aspect to hold that property, and if you're able to, if you don't absolutely have to sell it for some like family emergency or something like that, hold on to it, rent it out, cash flow a little bit, maybe even potentially take a little bit of negative cash flow depending on how bad your market is in your city, and then just sell it down the road, because it's not going to be like this forever. We've seen a very drastic change. Interest rates are now above 6%, highest they've been since before the 2008 crash. So it's not looking good for real estate in the short term right now, for sure. I would say towards the end of 2023 is probably when it's going to start balancing out again. It's going to be city to city though. Phoenix specifically got hit extremely hard. New builds are slowing down, and what happens when less properties are getting built? It just means it's harder to rent a property as well, because there's less inventory for renters as well, especially if people are starting to hold on to their properties a little bit longer, which is going to eventually increase rental prices even more, which is what we're probably going to see going into 2023. Best metric to track success of rental properties. I always say the best metric is your cash on cash return, because at the end of the day, once you start investing, it really comes down to every single investment that you look at, the opportunity cost. And what I mean by opportunity cost is, if I invest $100,000 into this investment, is this going to be a better opportunity than investing it in another opportunity over here with the same amount of money? Like, what's going to yield me the best for my $100,000? That's what you have to think about it once you start investing, because yeah, you can cash flow on any single property you buy if you put a big enough down payment. Like, I kind of forced my 6 rental property, like I put a large down payment on it, and it kind of forced myself into a positive cash flow. But it didn't necessarily make sense. I could have used that money elsewhere and probably made a lot more. I could have bought another Airbnb, and instead of making $240 a month, I could have been making $2,400 a month. And I'm just being completely straight up honest with you. I like, it's not a mistake that I made, but there's definitely, like, in hindsight, there was definitely more thought that should have gone into my 6 rental property. I'm saying this on this video because I feel like I need to be honest with my, I don't want to say mistakes, but I need to be honest with my investing strategies. And that property, I could have thought about it a little bit more, like, wow, like, what you have right here, you can invest $100,000 and make $240, or you can go find another property and make $2,400 a month, which is a very, very big possibility if you find the right deal. So the best metric, cash on cash return, that's going to give you an idea on what your opportunity cost is. And you just want to basically, if you have multiple opportunities in front of you, like, what is going to get you the best return on your money? And that's going to be the metric, cash on cash return. What I mean is, let's actually use this $240 a month example. So I'm making $240 a month on one of my rental properties with $100,000 invested. So we want to go on a yearly return. So we're going to go $240 a month times 12 months. This property is making me $2,880 a year with $100,000 investment. So you're just going to go divided by $100,000, which is what your investment is. And that gives me a 2.8% cash on cash return, which is awful. I usually won't mess with anything under 10% cash on cash return. So let's take, for example, my best cash flowing property right now, minus my Airbnb, which is the first property I ever bought, for $209,900. And I think I invested at this point about $60,000 to buy that property. And my cash flow on that, I just made a video on this, I want to say it's like $1,100. So we're going to go $1,100 a month cash flow times 12, which is going to be your yearly income on this property. So I'm making on this property $13,200 on a $60,000 investment. Divided by $60,000, which is how much money I have invested in this property, that gives me a 22% cash on cash return. So that right there is like opportunity cost explained. Yes, I can go invest $100K in this and make $2,800 a month, or I can go invest $60,000 in this and make $13,800 a month. Yes, the market has changed drastically. I got a really good deal on that property. Yes, other considerations have to come into play. My $240 cash flowing property is, it's gonna appreciate 5 times faster than my property that's cash flowing me more. So there's appreciation you have to come into play, but from a strict, like, monthly opportunity cost standpoint with no other factors in play, cash on cash return percent is what I look for specifically when I'm looking for investments. That was a very long answer. I hope you guys aren't bored. It's already a long video. 2 more questions left. Do you ever JV on flips or Airbnbs? I do not partner. What he means by JV is joint venture. I do not partner up on any of my long-term properties. I got at the point I don't need to. Me and my business partner don't even partner up on long-term properties that we're going to buy and hold. I will always try to do it myself, and if I absolutely have to bring a partner, if there's like if I can't do it on my own and there's a smoking deal I don't want to miss out on, yes, I'll partner up, but it would most likely be my business partner. Now, with that being said, flips, same thing. But we are looking to, in the talks of potentially starting up a fund, because we get a ton of people like, hey, I have $50,000, $100,000, they want to invest in something. But we're still working through the legalities of that. Obviously, if you create a fund, you have to have accredited investors only. Otherwise, there's like a huge workaround, which is a process. So we're still at the very beginning stages, but we potentially will do something where we can have other investors join in on us. Most likely, those would be long-term rentals, buy and hold properties that we hold for a 5 to 10 year span, sell it at the end of it. How do you deal with nonstop stress, market shifts, vandalism, and theft, etc.? So what the person that asked this question, they obviously follow me on Instagram because they asked the question on Instagram, but I also posted that within the last 3 months, two of our properties actually got broken into when they were vacant on sale, and it's been quite expensive. The last break-in we had cost us about $1,200 because we had to replace the microwave, we had to replace the stove, we had to replace a window. It was more than $1,200. It was like $1,500 with the labor of all that. Man, it's like I'm handling stress a lot differently than what I was a couple years ago. Like, I feel like the last couple months it's just been bad news, bad news, bad news, falling out of contract. Just like we had our main sewer line at one of our properties here has a giant crack in it, and the buyer of that property is requesting an $8,000 credit for that, and then another $8,000 for other stuff. So it's like, bam, we're getting hit from all angles, and I'm the one that is in the front lines of this. So it's definitely been a very difficult transition with the market shift, like handling a lot more stress. I had a ton of stress at the beginning of the year, but for different reasons. We were just moving through properties like crazy. Now it's a little bit different. Like, we're getting bombarded with a bunch of different problems, and managing it is just like, I have to constantly remind myself, am I able to do something about this, or is it out of my control? If it's out of my control and there's nothing I can do about it, then I try not to let it stress me out. But if it's something that I can change, I'll take it one step at a time and break it down in as simple terms as possible and take it step by step to figure this out. Like, for example, that main sewer line. It's overwhelming to get a giant email where the buyer of your property is going to cancel unless you give them giant credits. But if you break it down, you're like, okay, let me take care of this. Let's schedule this out. Let's move over to the next problem. Let's figure this out. Let's see if we have to give them all the credit on it. Let's see if we can work something out with this. All right, next step. Okay, we got that figured out. Let's move on to the vandalism situation. It's out of my control. The appliances already got stolen. I'm not going to stress about like damn, that shouldn't have happened, or damn, like we could have done better, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it already happened. By the way, we have footage of whoever stole our appliances, but it's really low quality, so I might put it up on the screen right now for you guys, actually. But yeah, it's like out of our control. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, am I going to sit here and mope that we have to spend another $1,200? I'm going to have to spend another $1,200, $1,500 regardless if I do it now or later. So I'm like, all right, let's stop procrastinating. Let's just put the order in on new appliances. Let's get my guy out there. Let's fix this window. We had to get a whole new window too, because they literally took out a window frame. I don't even know how they did it, but it was a guy and a girl that stole our stuff. So we got that taken care of. It's all new now. We locked it up. We got cameras. We got air tags too, Apple air tags. So if they do steal it, we'll know where it went. Trying to be a little bit more proactive now, which is partly our fault from the beginning, as we could have done a little bit better to be preventative to prevent that from happening. And then the last house, someone stole our wall AC unit, which was like a $600 thing. That was annoying as well. We got cameras in that, so we didn't have any problems from there out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely stressful, especially since margins are getting tighter and tighter now. It was a little bit of a different stress at the beginning of the year. Like, yeah, I'd be stressed, but we'd be like ripping $40,000 profits on these properties. So it was like, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with this now, but we're going to get a reward at the end of all this. Where now it's a little bit of a different situation where things are so tight. It's like we're just trying to get out of these deals and just kind of move on to the next one, or kind of start fresh or clear with this new market shift. Because all these properties we have right now, we bought these before the market shifted. Before, like, we bought a lot of these in March, April, May, and we bought one in June as well. So the market hadn't shifted that much at all. So we're learning to adapt with that, with margin expectations of when we bought them. So yeah, it's definitely a lot to process, but it's like, at the end of the day, who else is going to do it? Like, you have to figure these situations out. I don't know if I even answered that question too well. I'm just kind of talking right now, but thank you guys so much for watching the video. I do appreciate it. Let me know if you guys want to have any video suggestions. I kind of like these videos, kind of just talking a little bit more casual. If you guys want another topic for me to talk about, let me know. I'll see you guys soon. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, and thank you guys for watching.